I'm Rick Jones, Practice Business Manager. Workflow is merely a process that allows us to move correspondence around the building and deal with this in a more effective, efficient way. For me, that means keeping it away from the doctors. Why do you want a piece of paper, a piece of correspondence being looked at by the most expensive person in your practice? Is that really a good use of their time when you can safely deal with that in another way?
My name is Jane Collins and I'm a locum practice manager. My role at making workflow successful is making sure that the whole practice is on board, first of all.
We have laid down protocols, which in the first instance were designed by the doctors, because obviously this has to be safe. So the doctors decided what the protocols would be to keep the correspondence that they didn't need away from them, but certainly to make sure that the correspondence they did need to see went to them. It all goes on the patient's records, but it's at what level the doctor needs to see it and when.
Makes it very difficult for workflow if one GP wants to see certain types of letters and one wants to see different types. You can't workflow like that, so it has to be that they all unify.
I think for the staff, it is about seeing a whole process, and it's a journey of our patients. And I think that's key in many ways, but especially for safety, because that individual has seen something come in maybe a week or so ago, and they know that story. And so they can pick up on things that perhaps other people wouldn't.
We're all looking at different ways of working differently, but this actually is an opportunity to upskill your staff and empower them a little bit.
I think when thinking about who you're going to employ to do this role, I think it's very, very important to really get down to, is this person a detail person? Yes, they do have to have a bit of background knowledge, medical, read coding, etc., but those things can be taught.
The role of a workflow GP lead is imperative to the practice. They're the go-to person for the staff. It forms a really good relationship, working relationship, and they also feed back to the other partners or the clinical team as to how workflow is going.
The relationship between the GP lead and the practice manager is very key, particularly in the early days, because all of this is built around trust. Trust that things are going to be done safely.
Making your staff feel confident that they're going to be doing it and it will be absolutely fine. A lot of staff get quite concerned that they're going to make a mistake. It's knowing their abilities and their capabilities and that they'll have training all the way.
I think the biggest thing is that the doctors have to be able to let go. In the beginning, there were some concerns that the GPs had about the system, and they were namely around, would things be missed? And would we be able to give the same kind of service that they were using non-GPs. In the early days, we tried to use our existing team, but what we found was that we were quite overwhelmed by it and other things started to suffer. So we did bite the bullet and say that, well, if we need to free our doctors up, there is a value to that. And so we decided in the end that the best way forward was to have a dedicated team. I would say to any practice who's thinking about doing their workflow, stop thinking about it and doing it. I think as a practice manager, to make this a successful thing is that you have to be fully involved in it. You have to believe in it. You have to be there at the start. You have to iron out any of the situations that might come up. And you have to hold people's hands initially through it, and that includes the doctors.